The Forester is an extremely popular compact crossover that is sold in the segment today, and it's a very cluttered, busy segment. So the Forester has its own identity. People who have owned one will swear by one, and for very good reason. So for 2025, Subaru has updated the Forester visually and mechanically. So let's explore this supremely competent crossover. So the looks of the Forester, yes, that has been heavily revised for the 2025 model year. As you can see, you've got brand new headlights, a brand new grille, which is all blacked out for this sport variant. What is also exclusive to this sport variants are this sort of copper accents you have on the bottom of the bumper, which is also translated onto the side. You have this nice little headlight cutout, which has really cool DRLs embedded on them. I'm not sure if it's showing on camera, but the DRLs are on right now. You do have lots of cladding on the bottom part of the bumper. You do have some fog lights as well. But yeah, it looks fresh, it looks new, because the older Forester started to age a bit compared to the other modern offerings on the segment. When you come to the side is when you realize that they haven't really tweaked too much. The side profile still looks pretty much the same like the previous Forester, but that's no bad thing because the Forester is always known to be a slightly of a boxy shape, and this one is no different. Since this is the Sport, you have this beautiful looking 19-inch wheels which are painted in the same copper shade, and you do have the same copper accents on the side door cladding as well. Since this is a Subaru, you do have lots of cladding, so you have cladding all over the arches, on the door and onto the rear arches as well, and then it's beautifully integrated onto the rear bumper. You do have very big squarish windows, and you have blacked out mirrors, which is exclusive for this Sport variant. Again, nothing too fancy. Subaru didn't have to toy around too much, just minor tweaks here and there. Make sure that this Forester still looks very cool, very relevant in the current market. The side also has this really cool symmetrical all-wheel drive badge because they want to make sure that you know it's not a regular all-wheel drive, it's the symmetrical, which is the trademark of every Subaru. But yeah, once you see that and then you come to the rear, you'll also notice that Subaru has revised the design of the rear of the all-new Forester as well. So you can see you have some new taillights, which is now clear taillights, but it's smoked for this Sport variant. Other variants have it in just normal transparent clear. You do have some badges as well, so you have Subaru badging, you have Forester embedded onto the tailgate, you do have the Sport badge as well, you do have reflectors in the bumper, and you have quite a lot of cladding as well because hey, this is a Subaru crossover, right? People take this car into the rough stuff for their camping, for their hiking, so the bumper is always going to be protected. You do have a fake cutout as well, which is blocked, which I don't like. I wish they just gave it twin pipes, because one side they have the pipe, but this side they have covered it out and they put a copper surround around it. They have the copper surround around the exhaust as well, but I don't like this blank. I wish they actually use it for the exhaust and it would have looked much more proportional. This looks like an afterthought. They realized, oh, we don't actually have twin pipes, so let's just put on a fake cover on it. That could have been worked upon better, but otherwise I do like the looks of the new Forester from the rear as well. You can open the tailgate to get access to the boot, which is decent. It can take some luggage very, very easily. It's not as big as the Outback, but it's definitely bigger than the Crosstrek, which has always been the ethos of the Forester, right? I'm now inside the new 2025 Subaru Forester Sport. As you can see, it's the traditional Subaru layout, so you still have the big screen. However, I must say, this is the worst version of the big screen I've used. The best version was on the Crosstrek. This is one of the worst, the most laggiest versions. Maybe it requires a software update and maybe it will become better, but that's surprising considering this is the newest car of the lot. You do have physical buttons for the temperature control, the volume, the tune. You do have a conventional gear lever as well. You have a wireless charger. You have a USB-C and an A port and an aux port, which I don't remember seeing in a brand new 2025 car ever. You do have cup holders, you do have some storage over here to put some stuff. I have my sunglass cover inside. You have some more storage here to put my keys inside. And yeah, everything just feels very rugged, very robust, which has just been what Subaru's been working on for the last few years. You do have some things exclusive to this Sport variant. Just like the outside, you have some copper bits. So you have some copper bits on the stitching on the upholstery. You do have some copper bits on the dash. You have some stitching between the upholstery and between the seats. And then you do have this copper bit on the steering steering wheel as well, which is only exclusive to the sport variant. You do have the chunky three-spoke steering, which is all leather wrapped, which feels very nice, and you do have paddles on the back. It is heated. You do have volume control buttons and the adaptive cruise on the steering. You do have the analog controls, analog dials, which look really nice, and you do have the small colored MID in between to tell you all the information that you would need, like your trip meter and just all the information regarding your adaptive cruise. Yeah, this does have eyesight as well, and it does not have the old school box that used to monitor your eyes. This is just all embedded in, which is very nice. But yeah, it's not too glamorous, not too glitzy. It just works, and Subaru's been focusing on function over form since a long time. The seats are very nice. The driver seats are electrically powered, and you do have lumbar support as well. And we do have to remember that this is the mid variant Sport. There is a higher variant, the top of the line, which is called the Premier, and that's much more plush, much more well loaded. This has all the basic needs. So this does have wireless CarPlay, so you don't actually have to use these ports ever. But yeah, it's not the most glamorous interior of its segment, but it still works, and that's what Subaru has been focusing on for the last few years, and I really don't mind that. Every time I get into a Subaru, I just feel like this interior is going to last a long time. I'm now in the rear of the Forester. As you can see, space is really not an issue. This seat is much more behind than what I would have for my driving position. As you can see, my knees are really far away from the seat. I have a lot of place to tuck in my feet. Headroom is also really not an issue. The center hump isn't as intrusive, so the third passenger is also welcome. The underthigh support is really nice. The back seat incline is also very good. What can I say? It just works. There's not too many glitz. So again, it doesn't have heated seats in the back. Again, this is the mid variant, but you do have two USB ports, a USB-C and a USB-A. You do have double seat back pockets to store some stuff, some cup holders on the door as well. And if you open this, then you have some more cup holders, which is again convenient. What can I say? It's just a typical Subaru. Everything just works. The windows are so large and airy, so that brings in a lot of sunlight. It's not the biggest sunroof, so it's not a whole panoramic glass, but if you keep the glass open, some sunlight does come into the rear. It's not too bad. Honestly, it's one of the better rears, if I can say it. I really like the whole the sitting ambience, and you're actually sitting a little higher than the front seat, so you have a much more clearer view if you want to look ahead as a rear passenger. It's very comfortable. It's got all the basic needs, and yeah, I don't mind sitting in the rear for longer journeys here. I'm now behind the wheel of the 2025 Subaru Forester Sport. So let's get the numbers out of the way. This has a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated boxer engine, produces about 180-182 horsepower, has a symmetrical all-wheel drive, and is only available with the CVT gearbox. No manual option here. That's the standard Subaru affair, so nothing to complain here. And just like a Subaru, it drives really well. It's extremely comfortable. The engine has enough poke, I'd say. With the Crosstrek, it felt decently peppy. This one, it feels adequate. But yeah, you see, I'm on the undulations of the Gardner Expressway, and nothing is filtered inside. The combination of the seats and the suspension travel feels so very comfortable, very pliant, which is amazing, and just like how every Subaru feels in this day and age. It just cruises very happily at triple-digit speeds on the highway, and you can just munch the miles with your family, maybe mount a kayak on the roof. It's a Subaru, right? So it's meant for outdoor adventure stuff, and the Forester feels like it can just do all that very easily. Fuel economy wise, you can get about 9.5-10 liters in the city, and on the highway you can get about 8.5 liters per 100 kilometers, which is again decent. Subarus are not the most efficient cars in this segment, and this one is no different, but it's not a deal breaker. The steering is very nice. You do have paddles in the back, which is a bit of a joke because it's a CVT at the end of the day, so it's not a real gearbox. There are no real gears. It's all simulated fake gears, but it feels nice. The clicks feel nice, and overall the steering also is very direct, feels very nice to hold, and it's very nippy. You do have the eyesight as well, so the adaptive cruise keeps you in the lane, and you can drive on the highways with utmost comfort and peace. You don't have to focus as much as you would have otherwise have done if the car didn't have the adaptive cruise. Yeah, what can I say? When I booked this car to review, I had some expectations because having driven all the rest of the Subaru SUVs and the crossovers, I had a certain expectation, and this meets them all. It drives just like those, but in a smaller smaller package compared to, say, the Outback or the Ascent. Feels really nice. Honestly, it's just like a typical Subaru. Does everything well, is very rugged. You can take it in the rough stuff, it will handle it really well. See, I am on some really bad surface, and I'm honestly not feeling anything. Like it could have been way worse, but it's not, because the suspension tuning and everything is just spot on. Subaru just knows how to make a suspension work well. What can I say? It just drives really well, especially considering the price point this particular sport variant is at. It drives really well. Honestly, I'm it's not mind-blowing, but it's assuring, and having that assured feeling is also very satisfying. In conclusion then, the 2025 Subaru Forester Sport. Well, I had lots of expectations, having driven other Subaru crossovers, and mechanically they're mostly the same. So I had some set expectations, and this vehicle meets them all. I think it looks pretty good, especially with the update now to the front and the rear. The interior is very spacious. It's got all the basic kit you would need. Yes, the interior doesn't feel the most modern or the most tech laden compared to its rivals, but that's not what Subarus are about. Subarus are always about being rugged and being right there when you need them the most, and this car will do it all. With the symmetrical all-wheel drive, it's extremely capable. You can take it in the rough stuff and this car will not disappoint. Yes, it does have wireless CarPlay, it does have adaptive cruise, so it does have all the basic tech that you'd ever need in a car. At around $43,000 Canadian for this sport variant, I think it's pretty good value considering what you get, because it is pretty practical, it drives really well, and it's a Subaru, so it will be decently reliable as well. I mean, if I were in the market for a crossover, I would consider one of these.